Yo, good day, and welcome to another episode of the RoadFS DetailBookie Podcast. It is a week from Thanksgiving. Hard to believe that
It is.
this year's almost done. We're about to the holidays, and we have a lot to be grateful for. We're almost 600 episodes in this podcast, real close. So make sure you go out there, like, share, and subscribe. And this has been quite the year. We've brought on Detail Bookie. We've expanded RoadFS's reach. You and I are doing some fun projects behind the scenes that we'll be rolling out in for Mobile Tech Expo, both in Detail Bookie and RoadFS. And part because of some great ideas by our guests, Justin and Matt from VIP Surface Concepts. Good morning, brethren. How are you guys?
Good morning. We're doing fine over here. How are you guys?
You know, it is good.
It's all good over here. We're just Jody and I get really wrapped up this time of the year because we got the end of the year coming and all the new ideas start flowing in. You guys know how it is. What can we do next year better? So for those people that do not know what VIP Surface Concepts are, why don't you tell us where you're at, how long you've been in business, and a little bit about the company itself.
Yeah, so we are in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. We started in 2016. I put this together, basically was like a lot of people, door-to-door vehicle, essentially just talking and communicating with shops around here that did rims and tires, lifts, audio to get customers. I brought Justin in here and kind of grew this. So Justin actually was detailing, worked in the plants, and didn't want to do that anymore. So found a connection, got him hooked up, and now he's our general manager and takes care of everything for us.
So I want to talk about that transition because I think a lot of detailers, you know, when they're young, they're hungry, their bodies are a little bit more malleable. they really enjoy the grind of detailing. They enjoy the artistry and the craftsmanship of it. But it seems like inevitably you reach a point where your body's going, yeah, I'm done. So talk about that, Justin, because I've never asked that question to anybody.
So back then it was, so when I started, I was at a young age. My dad was like, you're doing stuff, and all that, like commercial stuff, so started doing it for full side and stuff, and that's not real. And then I just got part of the side work, all that stuff, I was doing things on the side.
Yeah, I don't know why we can't hear you. We can hear Matt, but not Justin. So
let's see if
we
we
hear Matt real well, but
let's see. Can you hear us better now?
I can hear you.
I can hear you. Let's try Justin.
Check 1 2. Check 1 2.
There you go. All right.
Yeah, good. Now we're good.
Closer. Yeah, maybe you just got to be next to the thing. So
right. So I started off when I was younger doing it. My dad had me out there cleaning all kind of vehicles when we had them, and so I got into that, just doing it like that, and then got into car shows, and finally I got into working in the plants and refineries. I got tired of doing that, so you know what, I'm gonna do it full time, and start doing it full time, and it's been almost 12 years now, and like you said, getting to that point where pulling hoses and buffing all day for 10 hours and polishing wheels, and it takes a toll on you for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's how it is for me. I mean, I'm only 25 years old, and I look like this from detailing.
Right. Yeah, it'll wear you down quick. No doubt. The back's hurting every day.
Yeah, well, and I think that's what people have a hard time. And I mean, my dad's told me this for years. My dad's 80 years old. He's rough, but he's real wise, right? I mean, he's not going to be like pat you on the back and be like, it'll okay. He'll be like, don't be an asshole. This is what's going to happen. So he told me for years, he's like, you don't know it now, but you're going to hit a certain age and you're not going to be able to do that stupid shit anymore. You're going to have to figure out how to transition into being smarter and not being dumb. Right. So let's talk about how in the current business you guys have, you're the general manager, you're the owner. How many employees do you have that are detailing?
So we have 2 detailers. We have 1 sales guy, And then Justin kind of floats based on what kind of jobs we have coming in. I mean, he's not going to leave money on the table. So if he's got to detail, 3 days a week, he's detailing 3 days a week. If he can stay in the office and do the management side, he's doing that. So he kind of plays a dual role for us. And then, if there's ever a chance where I have to grab a buffer, I haven't done it in a long time, but I will if I have to.
Hey, Jody and I have done that.
Yeah,
we've been on site doing videos, and somebody's like, "Hey, man, I got 3 dealer cars," and we're like, "Give us a polisher. Let's go to town."
That's it.
So let's talk. I want to go back to the thing about your bodies and breaking down all that. What do you do for your employees that helps them so that they're not doing stupid stuff?
So we have a fully climate controlled facility here. It's all air conditioned, so we're not in the heat. We try to steer away from doing, I would say, your basic and your elite details. We try to do more of the stuff that we have more time for. Your PPF film, your ceramics, and things like that. We do tend to drift into a lot of boats and oxidation removal and stuff like that. So these guys are, in South Louisiana. There is no way to avoid the heat, but we try to keep them with the heat and obviously supply them with everything they need.
And I think the biggest thing I look at is like younger people that don't understand that you have this thing in the middle of your body called the spine, and then towards the bottom at a certain age, your body goes, "Yeah, we're done." So you gotta, because I watch people do that all the time. They'll bend over wrong, and you're like, "Oh, dude, not going to happen." And I always become. It's really weird because I become a Southern old woman when that happens. I'll look at them and I'll be like, "Oh, honey, don't do that." Bless your heart,
bless your heart,
you're
baby.
Gonna hurt yourself. So I think that's kind of the thing, and a lot of the innovations that we're seeing in the industry are on the outside, right? They're like benches and different things, and I see a lot of people with these really nice
Viper chairs.
Stuff and things that
we got some scooting chairs, but no Viper chairs here.
Dude, I even saw I was at Home Depot the other day, and they have this Makita octopus thing that helps you lift up stuff. I'm like, I need that for doing working home.
There's one in the aviation industry it's like a creeper, but then it raises up part of the way. It raises up.
That thing is so nice.
It's incredible.
We have one of those somewhere around here. It moves all the way up into a bench and kind of lifts you up.
Yeah, that's good. I want to talk about this. Juice Free says there's no such thing as a good employee now. And days, if an employee had everything he needed to be a good employee, he wouldn't be an employee. He'd be an entrepreneur. And I don't necessarily agree with that. And the reason why is because I've been in some shops. I can think of one just down the road, Detail Doctors. They have a guy in there, Randy. He loves being a detailer.
Yeah.
Right? Whereas Steve is all about running the business, connecting with people, and being an entrepreneur is a different skill set. It's a different mindset than just being a detailer. So do you guys find any truth to what Juice Free sharing, or what's your experience there?
So I see his approach to that, but I totally am with you, Jody. I don't agree. The reason we work so well together is he wants to be in this shop. He can control the shop and the growth that's happening here. But the other side of this business that he's kind of, doesn't see the way I see it is that growth, reaching out to these customers, constantly trying to find out how to get bigger and bigger. Just for instance, the DetailBookie, when he was doing it on his own, he's old school pen and paper. You bring in something like DetailBookie for us, it takes your company to a whole new level. And you can't be I feel like you can't be the entrepreneur and then be in the shop 8 hours a day because there's no growth potential there.
No, and I think that there's also a mentality of certain people don't want to deal with it.
Yeah.
So my wife is totally happy working for a corporation. She's like, let them worry about payroll. She's watched me do this for 100 years. She's like, I don't want to deal with payroll or dealing with, hey, Bobby,
HR stuff.
Bobby, you know what? You there's this thing called a shower. The other people are talking about it, and maybe you ought to try it out, or you need to zip your pants up, that kind of stuff. So that is, some people they think they want to be an entrepreneur for the side of it where you're not in the shop. Right. And It's funny because when we've been doing a lot of business type of stuff, we get kind of itchy. And we'll go out, we'll be at the RoadFS Training Center, or we'll be out in Florida, or we'll be somewhere. And man, we're in the shop. We're hands on. Those intro videos that shows Jody and I'll have the polish in our hand. Hell, last year we were in Jacksonville and he won a competition for Rotary on a black boat. So it's
Rashid helped me.
Yeah, Rashid. It was fixed, everybody. It was fixed. Totally fixed.
And the one other thing I'll say is for Justin, when he goes home at 5 o'clock, his day is pretty much over. An entrepreneur, we never stop.
No,
my wife will tell you I am the worst. I will work from 7, 8 o'clock in the morning, and at midnight I'm like, oh, I need to check my phone and I need to build this program. There's a fine line between being an entrepreneur and having a 8 to 5.
Yeah, and I think that, the thing about that comment, and thank you for addressing my comment. The thing is about that is where I do agree with him is that it is hard to find a good employee that doesn't come in and say, and actually I'd rather they came in and say, I want to learn as much as I can so I can start my own business. I'd rather know that.
Be up front.
And help them do that than have them come in and just kind of watch everything and then they're gone in 6 months. So it's hard to find good employees. It really is. And that I think that is just a sign of the times because there's so many different ways to make money.
There's so many options.
Back in 1942 when Jody was born, they you pretty much had a job. You had a single job. You went to work and that was it. You couldn't even most people won't remember this if they're under a certain age, but you couldn't take a phone call during the day about personal stuff, period. That was like off limits at a job. When I was working in shops, restoring cars and everything, my now wife of over 35 years would call for something. She'd have to call the office and they would give me a message and I'd call her back at lunch.
Yeah, I remember.
Nowadays you get a text message from your kid, oh, hey dad, I forgot the combination to the garage. And you're like, and that's it. So it's totally different. It's a different environment. And I think people have to look at that and realize that it's a different type of person you're looking for in an employee.
So I want to talk about kind of shifting. It's the same kind of theme, but you guys started in 2016, right? And Matt, you're out there hustling. You're trying to figure out how to build this business. What are some things that you found that opened doors for you that allowed you to transition from this hungry detailer to now this in the shop, 4 walls, have a nice climate controlled facility, and you have a premium brand? How did you build that?
So I built it through, which will be a shocker for most, but I built it through the industrial side of detailing. I went in and I started with contracts for 18-wheelers and was able to get that to where I was doing it daily with a crew that was there. That gave me the potential to be able to back off of a lot of the day-to-day details that nobody wants to do, where you're detailing 10 cars a day, because I had that steady income coming. Once I got inside of a shop, those customers that I had that I was selling the ceramic coatings to, and I was like everybody else, we were selling them for a little bit lower price than what you can inside of 4 walls. But it opened the door to be able to grow the ceramic side with a better ceramic coating, grow the PPF side, and actually not care if I had to do 10 cars a day, because I had that additional income from some of these big industrial clients. Now to get in there, to get into these industrial clients, it took people I knew and help from friends that said, hey, we have, 300 trucks out here that we are getting tickets for because Louisiana's terrible with their roads and their DOTD, I'll say it. But they were paying more in fines than it would cost for me to come in and detail their trucks to where they were no longer getting those fines. So I was able to prove that to them, which allowed me to go from making $30,000, $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 a month to all of a sudden I have one customer paying me almost $200,000 a month.
Right.
So that was able to surpass that income. And actually to get in these 4 walls is my wife saying, hey, I don't think we're going to make it if we keep trying to go from house to house. We're going to have to buckle down, save some money, and get a building to sit behind. So I guess it took a little bit of that and wanting to grow as a family and go down that route.
Yeah.
And really have a brick and mortar instead of just having something that everybody thought was a fling.
Yeah. And I think that's one of the hardest things and one of the greatest things about being an entrepreneur is you can choose the right size for you and your goals and your employees' goals. One time we had 24 employees and it was a circus. It was a circus. I mean, the best way to say it is I was either wiping somebody's ass or wiping their tears every day. I mean, it was like, I can't keep being, their father and their employer. I mean, I'm so it was a lot to deal with. And I think you got to choose what's the right size for you. We have a good question.
So we have a really good question from Tayton. He says, I have a question. I've been trying to get into agricultural/industrial, but I'm finding it's a hard industry to enter as something new, at least where I'm at. So what do you recommend for someone with years in the automotive industry, but not much
so much
experience in
the agricultural
and
industrial?
So I think the way we got into it was we started with so to back up a little bit, we did a lot of dump trucks and things like that because we looked for the dirtiest thing that they had. The dirtiest thing that they have is what they're going to want to clean the most of. And it took me going to several different companies and essentially, I wanted to make $200, $300 a truck, but I had to get in there doing it for $65 a truck. And I had to show my proof.
Yeah.
So it takes for us, I think the biggest thing is you have to take that bullet and go, okay, I know it's going to cost me this much to do 2 or 3 trucks for you guys. Let me do them and prove myself. And that's kind of the route I took was I said, let me clean 2 of these for you. I'm not going to charge you. Let me clean them. Yeah. Let me show you the difference. You take those trucks and now you see the difference in your drivers, how they take care of your machines, how much more life you get out of these machines because they're clean and they're not keeping all this road grit and salt and tar and everything on them. Well, obviously you're not having to get them repainted. You're not having to, you're not getting tickets, which is our big, that's one of our big things here. But it took a lot of no's before you get the yes.
Yeah. And I think that is, I've heard that a lot in the industrial is that doing one and showing them what it'll do. Mike Smith did that.
Yeah.
He industrial coated a concrete mixer.
Yep.
And then he said, just see how much easier it is to spray it down and get all the concrete off of it. Because those things are a couple million a piece.
Yes.
In a year is what this company was spending on equipment. And when they were like, we don't have to do that. We can buy a couple more years. And speaking of that particular company, let's look at
Mike Carlin.
Start with their pain points, not your product. Farmers won't care about H9 or graphene. They care about mud buildup, corrosive fertilizers, oxidation, aluminum, faded paint from sun exposure, long wash times, equipment sale, resale value for sure. And that is, so Mike Carlin, which is one of the owners of IGL, we had the opportunity to be in his shop and do an industrial coating on both a pickup and then on I think it was International Harvester. It was red. No, it would be blue now. Anyway, it was a red tractor, and it was completely oxidized and faded out. And so we were able to spray it and bring it back to life. And that, I think, was the key because now they can just spray off the mud. It's going to stick to it. It's not going to stick to it. They can clean it better, and it's going to last longer. And so Tayton says, that's what I'm interested in the most, coatings over detailing. I don't have a mobile setup at all, so I've got quite a bit of investing to do to build up a setup. Absolutely. But the thing about that is like with Mike, he's got a brick and mortar like you do, Tayton. Tayton's in a
Fort Morgan,
Colorado, which is a rural kind of an industrial area, but it's real close to Denver, real close to Louisville. So the thing about Mike's is the people will bring those things to his shop. So they will bring the tractors in, they will bring their trucks in, and that's actually a really good setup. And Mike's in Wisconsin.
Yeah.
And I think we were there in August, and it was still 12 degrees. What is going on?
Doing it.
And that was horrible.
Yeah. No,
and I'll say this. we got into a company here local called Bingo Crane and Rigging. They supply cranes to the biggest plants around Louisiana, and I'm sure they're in Texas and they're even bigger. The one thing I had to do with them to get their business, and we actually have one of their 18-wheelers outside that we're actually putting PPF on now. But the one thing I had to do for them was, it took a year. I will say this. I had to coat a crane. So I don't know if most people know this, but a crane paint job, $60,000 to $100,000 every 5 to 10 years. So what we did was, before this crane went out into the plant, and it is the worst plant in Louisiana, it's known for cranes last out there about a year to 2 years. We actually did a industrial coating on it, and a year and a half later, they called me back and said, hey, it didn't work. It's rusted. There's rust spots everywhere. And I said, well, let me come out and look at it. I'm not charging you. You remember, I did this to prove a point. I came out there and looked at it. Craziest thing, I took Rust-Oleum, Rust Easy away, and sprayed it on 2 spots on the wheels. The rust came away. The paint was perfectly fine underneath. The rust was actually growing kind of on top of that coating. When they saw that, it was open doors from there. They buy a new crane, we coat it. They buy a new truck, we PPF it. So you got to spend some money to make some money, is what I always say. So we had to dig deep and bite the bullet to do that. But we try to do we do between 1 and 6 of those a year, depending on how many they're buying. And we're talking, tires as tall as me, and I'm 6 foot. So the pay for afterward and being in that industry, that can make or break these slow months, because right now is when they're trying to spend money, and things like this, they're able to spend money on, and keep their fleet nice and fresh.
Tire's 6 feet. I'd have to stand on your shoulders.
Yeah, that's still not going to help.
we could call it like Oompa Loompa industrial coatings or something.
Dude. So Paul has a question, and this comes up all the time. How do you structure pricing, right? Yeah. And I want to hear your response, because Rod and I, we talk about pricing all the time with different detailers, with our CRMs and stuff. So how do you guys structure pricing?
On industrial jobs?
Yeah.
So on these big coatings, we do it by the linear foot. We essentially break down how many hours it's going to take for, one guy or 2 guys to do the job. We take the feet, we take our product cost. I kind of break down, how many pads or sandpaper or whatever chemicals I'm going to need. And then I'll be honest, we like to run a 45 to 55% margin minimum. And that's how we structure it. So we figure that up, and then we get a linear foot. So now I have that price built out to where we're charging anywhere from $195 to $295 a linear foot. And when you're talking cranes that are 180 feet long, 200 feet long, it's a good payday for everybody.
Yeah, but their thing is they're still saving money. Did you do Tatan's right above that?
No, I was just.
You're still making money because they're not spending $60,000 to paint it.
Exactly.
In the case of Mike Smith, they're not spending $2 million to replace it.
Right.
That expense off. And I think that is, yes, exactly, Tatan. Scared money don't make money.
Right.
You're taking an expense and you're pushing it down the road. You're saving them that money. And they have the same philosophy, right? They need to spend money to save money or make money. But I think it takes that, what you said, it takes that initial investment. And I'm a real weirdo. I have a shop at my house, and I've done tests before where I'll take a metal panel and I'll literally tape it off and put different products on it, and then just throw it out in the gravel and leave it there for a year. Over the winter, we get snow, rain, cold, heat, all this stuff, and then pull it out just for my own edification. I've never done a video about it. I've never done anything, but for my own personal thing, I know which coatings I've put out there that have lasted. Yes. And so that's the kind of thing where I would say, you do a trial for them. You take something with you, take a piece of metal, say, look, this is a piece of metal. This has 0 coating on it. This has this coating, and this has this one, and it's been sitting outside for a year. Let me coat something and show you, and you'll see how easy it is to clean it up. You'll see how the less rust that you're going to get. You're never going to stop 100% of corrosion. It's going to come back at some point. Everything is working against that metal. It's kind of like when you're at your in-laws' house, everything's trying to kill you. So you got to be able to protect it somehow. So this Thanksgiving's coming up. You got to give people a little help there,
That's
there you
it.
go. Right.
Go in with an attitude, and you're going to win.
Well, so I have a question about the dynamics of the two of you, right? Because I think a lot of detailers who are starting to make that leap of building a team, they're not quite sure what to let go of, what to do. So, what is the dynamic between you two, and how have you defined that with each other?
So I have completely stepped back from VIP. I am essentially the behind closed doors owner slash COO, CFO. Justin handles the everyday processes. So he handles what jobs are scheduled, how much we're charging per job, making sure salespeople are closing jobs. And then quality control is, I would say quality control is his number one task every day here at this shop.
Yeah, make sure things get out on time.
Making sure it gets out on time, making sure it's done the way we want to do it. So the transition, it was hard, to give up something you grew for almost 10 years now is definitely hard. And this becomes your baby. But at some point you have to realize that the stress and the time away from family is just not worth it. And the little bit extra you make every year, is it worth all the headaches of trying to do it all? So I've tried different things. I've tried to have a key employee, I would say, in the shop that controls quality control and does the work. Well, it comes to find out that, I can do, you get an employee that says I can do more than the other employee. Why does he get to have to say so? So to bring in somebody like Justin who can do it all, who can talk to a customer, he can fix a problem. That's kind of his role here, is to have that full oversee. And he's able to make those decisions. And that's one of the biggest things, is you have to be able to give your guy the full potential to control this like it's his own. Right. And if you can't do that, then it's never going to be successful. At the end of the day, if he has no control to fire somebody or to make a decision that, hey, we messed up on this card, this is what we need to do to make it right, I'm going to make that decision without calling you. If it's a hard step as a business owner to make that decision and have him have that open checkbook of saying, hey, how how much money we brought in, how much money we can afford. But at the end of the day, the customer is always right. So he has to be able to make that decision for us. And that's kind of his role here, is he is a general manager. So he controls the flow of everything every day. And I'll let him tell you kind of what he does every day and what's his main goals here. And kind of maybe that'll help answer some more questions that people may have.
Yeah. What's that look like, Justin?
So it's basically, like you said, getting the quality to work and making sure, like, we have a bunch of good guys that work for us, and just making sure it's getting out on time. It's correct. It looks right. Because we'll get 1 week, it might be 1 or 2 jobs slow, and then they'll pick up where it's a bunch of jobs, and it still need to get out. So, like, if it does that, I'm making sure they're not overworked and work's not coming out right. So I'll go out there. I don't mind washing, buffing, whatever it might be, and just make sure it makes them, give them that. Okay, well, he's not just sitting in an office on a computer or whatever it might be. It helps them, makes them feel more better about their work ethics and everything else.
Yeah. But I think that I mean, the whole reason that you have a general manager is because, at the end of the day, the shit has to roll down to one person. Customers need to have, as we call it, one neck to choke. And who's the person when it hits the fan, who the employees go, shit, Justin, this happened. What am I going to do? They got to have that. And I think that is figuring out the right roles in a business. We've watched people struggle, and we've watched people that do a really good job of it. And that's generally what it is people understand their role. And, I'm sure that if you and Matt have a disagreement about something, you're not going to do it on the floor in front of the employees. You're going to go backstage room and go, you know what? No, I think we need to increase our prices by 2% because we got a customer across the street that just went up 4%. So, it's that kind of stuff that I've seen employees and employers that have had that argument on the floor in front of employees. You're done. You just took your legitimacy as an owner.
You just belittled him and made him smaller, and now nobody's going to respect him.
Right.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. And it doesn't matter which one's right or wrong, right? The same thing happens as an owner. So Jody and I are always willing to step in and do whatever we can. We'll empty the trash, clean the toilets, buff the car, write the code, do whatever we got to do, because we understand that unless we really know what our employees are going through, you don't have any reason to do that. Years and years ago, I worked at this restoration shop, and they brought in a guy who had never restored a car. He had never worked on cars. He had never done any of that, and he was the general manager. And he came in with the biggest attitude. And we had customers that would come to us that we'd built 2 or 3 cars for. And they would specifically ask us questions. And they'd come in and they'd be like, yeah, I want to ask Brett a question. He'd say, well, he's not the guy. I'm the guy. You talk to me now. And we started losing customers. And the owner started going, what's going on? And I literally, in a closed meeting with him, not in front of customers, I said, I threw him under the bus. I was like, look, the customers come in, they want to talk to the person that worked on their car. They don't care if you got a badge on and you're called the manager. They want to talk to the dude in the back. So it takes understanding your client base, right? It's like if you're going to go out and work on industrial vehicles, you're not going to send somebody that's green that's never done that to be the guy that's the go-between. You're going to talk to him, and I know how this works. And, on dual wheels, when you get in between those wheels, we take the first one off so we can get behind both of them and then put them back on so that they understand what you're talking about. Right. And I think that is where you're coming from, Justin, where you started out in that background, you've worked your way through it. There's a certain amount of respect that's given because respect has to be earned. You can't just force it, right? That's just how it works.
Yeah, if you can't educate a customer, you're not going to get their business. If you get on the phone with them, a sales guy can get on the phone with them and say, yeah, we do ceramic coatings or we do polishing. And look, he could sell the job. Our reputation will sell the job. But when they come in and start asking you, well, do you coat the inside barrel of the wheel? And Justin's able to go out there and say, actually, sir, we do coat the inside of the wheel. But because it's this GMC Sierra or Yukon with tight spokes, I'm actually going to have to take each wheel off. So therefore, that's why this job takes 12 hours instead of 8 hours. That customer now sees the benefit or the expertise of what we do. And it's not just somebody saying, yeah, I coat your wheels. I coat just the face. Or why am I paying extra for this? It takes that person who knows how to do the job in the back to be able to answer those questions and not just sell the job.
Yeah. Right. Which is why people have different roles. You have your salespeople and then you have your frontline workers. And I mean, I know most shops have that one go-to person. You're like, oh man, it's this car and it's got this weird paint and I can't do it. And the employee's going to turn to that person and go, what do I do? Right. And you got to be able to have that person, like you said, have the freedom to be that go-to person that you go, hey, I got a problem. And they're like, oh yeah, I got this old 1920s McGuire's gravel and rocks in a bottle. And, use this pad and try that. Yeah, and, I've seen people that have struggled hard. I've actually worked shoulder to shoulder with Tatum and Paolo and some of these guys on vehicles that were really tough where, you just could not stop the hazing no matter what. And we had one guy that was like
GMC.
Yeah. Well, it was a Barrett and Jackson car, but basically what you had to do was it's like the final pass the final coat was one pass, really super light, and then the next pass was like negative pressure and the hazing would go away. Yeah. But it took a whole lot of trial and error to get there. Yeah. And if there wasn't that mutual respect between people, if there was somebody in there, there's always that one guy that's like, I know everything. You guys know what you're doing. And that dude walks off and that's it. That you lose all respect because you don't know. It could be a black GMC that was repainted. It could be a black Chevy that if you look at it too hard, the paint chips because it's so brittle. It could be, just keep going, man. It could be a black Tesla, which we all know is crap. And
the
it's about
horror that transcends on.
That's it. I wasn't
Pontiac paint.
But
Pigtail City, baby.
Tatum had a black Smokey and the Bandit tribute car that was at least 3 different people that had painted it. It was 2 different colors. There were more. I have never seen. I swear to God, they tried to put the pigtails in it as a feature because everywhere where the pinstriping was, there was a pigtail where you could tell somebody was nervous and they just were chattering all the way around and so Tate was having a nightmare with this thing because you can only do so much, but the paint was soft in one spot, it was hard in another. It was horrible. Really, you guys had fun. So it was super fun to do that. I don't wish that kind of stress on anybody, but it was super fun to do it. But again, we had we knew who the go-to person was. We just happened to have Jason Rose with us from RoadFS, and he was on site, and everybody just kind of went, what do we do, Jason? And but the coolest part about that, and I not just because it was Jason Rose, but I would tell everybody to do this, is he looked at all of us and he said, you take that panel and figure it out. You take that panel and figure it out. And you take that panel, and whoever's got the best method, that's what we're going to do. And so he gave everybody, which is what you have to do with your employees, he gave them the reins and said, we're all going to figure this out together. And at the end of the day, that's what's important, because you're building up their confidence. You're allowing them to critically think, and you're allowing them to be part of that process of troubleshooting, and instead of just being a minion.
Which is a mark of true leadership.
Yeah,
and,
exactly.
And you know, it's tough when you're a business owner and you're building a team and entrusting, you know, a general manager and all of the moving parts and people there. So I have a question for Justin, right? Going back to something that Matt said earlier, it's like he used to be a pen and paper guy, and now he's come to VIP Concepts and using DetailBookie. Tell me about that transition.
Night and day. It is all new stuff to me. I'm still learning it every day I come in the shop. It's definitely, obviously, way better than pen and paper, but it's just a learning process. It's way more, you know, it's easier to explain to a customer than trying to just, you know, go back and look at things or whatever it might be, and it just keeps everything where it's not all cluttered on a pen and paper.
Yeah.
So do you feel like you're bridging the gap from where you were to where Matt's pulled you reluctantly along?
Yeah, a good bit. I'd have to say.
He still writes on pen and paper.
I still write a little bit.
Hey, we all have that comfort zone, right? It's like there's always something that you just kind of go back to. And sometimes it's hard to teach old dogs new tricks. But, boy, once you can get a process in place and you can see the value of it, all of a sudden you're like, all right,
yeah,
I trust you and I'll walk with you along
and
this.
one of the things I will just big shout out to Tate and Trout, who is on here, the guy from Colorado. He has put together a spreadsheet.
Yes, sir.
That is more than just a spreadsheet, but it's basically for business owners of how to calculate their costs and then how that equates to price. And it's really good for small 1 to 2 man shop, single operator type of stuff who don't have the, 10, 15 years behind them of knowing this stuff, because we see, Jody and I see hundreds and hundreds of detailers a year all over the world. And that is one of the things that people struggle with. They're like, man, I brought in 15 grand this month. And you're like, okay, what were your expenses? What? How much did you spend this month? And they don't understand that on that
16,500.
Yeah, I spent 15,999. Okay, you made $1. You made $1. And when you said your margin, that is the thing. If people don't understand what a margin is, where you go, okay, look, I'm going to put in the cost of a pad on every polish. I know I'm not using up that whole pad. I may get 3-4 cars depending on, what animal is pushing on this thing, but I'm going to put the cost of that in there. That's a consumable. Rags are consumable. If you have uniforms, the cost of electricity, the lights, the polisher, the wear and tear on your body, everything. And you think a lot of people think about that and go, oh, I can't nickel and dime the client. Well, you're not showing the client that they're paying 13 cents for the lights. It's just built into the price. And he has countless hours. He's talked to tons of people that have been in the industry, to where you plug in the numbers of your costs and it spits out what it costs you to do a 1-stage or a 2-stage polish or a ceramic coating. Because everybody's like, oh, ceramic coating is $90 a bottle, and I'm going to charge $180. No, 180.
I was very bad about
it.
Okay, not that cheap. All right, but yeah, it's very bad. I never would really put cost into everything, and by the time it's in the job, I'm really not making a whole lot of money on it.
So we actually have a spreadsheet also where we have a spreadsheet. So I have a personal spreadsheet that I use that breaks down everything that same thing as Tatum, and how, what it costs to run this facility, where the prices have to be, how much we have to do monthly, what's our profit margins on if we do this or this. But I also have a spreadsheet that my sales guy and Justin fill out daily. And essentially it's, how much money we made today, like what jobs went out, when they're supposed to be going out, what was the PO? So we use a PO system here where if they buy pads, what job is that getting tied to? And then the question that just popped up, how many rags are being used? How much is it costing us to wash them at the local laundromat? And then it takes into account, labor hours, salary, everything. And it breaks it down weekly for me. So I'm able to see weekly, hey, we had a profitable week. We had a non-profitable week. And then monthly, I can say, okay, we didn't have a profitable week in week 1, but we had a profitable week in week 4, 3, 2. So it made up for that non-profit week for the month. Yep. So we go in and
go ahead.
We break it down. No. So we break it down weekly, and then I break it down monthly and then yearly.
Yep. And so that, aside from being the guy that's the biggest full of shit in the business, I do all of the numbers. And I'll just save Jody the trouble of saying it. My ass is so tight that I can hold a piece of crepe paper between my cheeks. So I know every penny that's going and where it went and what the margin is and how everything. I'll call these guys up and I'll be like, hey, on your company card, there's a charge for $4.93. What's that? Oh, I stopped at Taco Bell. Was it during work hours? Yeah. Okay, we're good. Because and they're like, damn, dude, that's $4.95. I'm like, when you add up $4.95,
it adds up quick.
Times 12 employees, times 31 days.
It adds up
you get
fast.
A lot of money. And so we look at everything we do, and I think the same is true when you're looking at, again, rags and pads and polishes and all. People don't even think about it. And when you're doing a coating and you've got a coating that's $90 for a 50 ml bottle and you're using a higher end coating that's $200, you have to change the price because you just lost. Yeah.
Surface concepts,
lost.
baby.
Well, IGL, you get one that's 60, 80, and then you got one like Kenzo that you're almost $200 in, and it makes a big difference when you're going from those 250 milliliter bottles to that 50 of Arcane or something like that. So you have to have that price figured in.
Yep, and that's where the salesperson comes in, and the person that has the knowledge of that explains, look, this is this isn't going to make sense to you, maybe it will, but this is this H versus that H, and all that means is the hardness and how long it's going to last. So is this a car you're going to turn in the next 3 to 5 years, or is this something you're going to hold on to? Oh, this is my parade car. Okay, let's go for the higher end coating. It's going to be more protection. We're going to still do the maintenance on it, and you just have to sell the value of it, not to sell that you're going to make more money. The value of it. You can go either way. It's your choice.
Well, I think a lot of detailers struggle, right? Because we get caught up in 3H, 7H, 10H. It's bulletproof H, right? Instead of going like Rob was saying, what do you want out of this car, right? And you're selling the solution to a problem. You're not selling a ceramic.
Exactly.
Right?
You have to.
When you get into that mindset, all of a sudden you're educating the customer, but more importantly, you're serving the exact need that the customer came to you for.
Right. Exactly. 100%.
So let me switch to a different direction here. You guys are surface concepts. So I got a little idea in the back of my head of what you're doing. Do you guys do any address-based stuff like countertops,
showers,
shower doors, shower stalls, granite countertops?
Granite countertops, yes.
And that's what I had this conversation, I think it was with you, Tayton, but I had this conversation with somebody because a lot of people in the winter months struggle. I mean, we can watch the revenue of certain things coming in and it just drops off. And people say, well, what do I need to do in the winter? How can I stay in business? You have to invent a way to fix a problem that you know how to fix. And if it's a countertop, in fact, I called Mike Carlin the other day or Dustin Jackson and asked him about granite countertops. It was Dustin, because I've got an insane countertop. It's actually 2 full sheets of granite to make this countertop. And so I'm like, I need a big bottle. And, what do we need to do with it? But I think that's a way to reinvent your business. And a name like you've got that is surface, that is generic enough, but specific enough that people understand it. It's different substrates. It's different surfaces that we deal with. So,
right. And then a cool fact for you guys is VIP actually stands for visually integrated protection.
Nice.
I like that.
Nice. That's perfect.
That's really good. I like that.
When you explain that to somebody and you involve the surface concepts with it, it doesn't mean that we're stuck to one surface with these products. You know, we can literally protect almost anything from industrial, cars, boats, airplanes, then in your house, showers, sinks, toilets, shoes. I mean, I'm a shoe fanatic, and I spray every pair of shoes I have. So it brings you in that class where when you're slow, you just have to find what's the next niche. What is people doing?
I think I think originally that's what it comes up as. But I think what it happens is, like, you end up making an entire different line of business out of it. If you're good and you're smart at what you're doing and you're in the right environment, right? You can't be in rural Wisconsin and be like, I'm going to work on every supercar in the country. No, you're not. You might be in Scottsdale, Arizona and be able to do that. You might be in Florida, California, but you're not going to do that out of mid-Wisconsin unless you become the, velocity.
Unless you're getting them shipped in.
Yeah. So you've got to invent a business around it. And we know tons of people. A guy in Yarmouth, Maine, that's been a friend of ours for years. He's got all kinds of stuff, man. He does U-Haul. He installs floor mats. He'll put on a trailer hitch. He might wash your dog. He'll do everything, man. Because that is what keeps him going. Is that all of those lines of business.
Yep.
So go ahead, Matt. Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say the only thing I say about that is you got to watch how far you stretch yourself, though, because then you start shorting yourself on other things because this one makes more money. So here, the one thing I'll say is, in different areas it does make a difference, but here, you start trying to install wheels and tires. Well, then are you the wheels and tires guy or are you the detail guy? Because a lot of people in our state, in our city, they want the professional who spends the time with the detailing for their vehicle. Then they want to go to the rim and tire shop to get the rims and tires. They want to go to the audio shop to get audio. So you got to watch how much you put in. So that's why we kind of stick with just protection. And that way, when people see protection, they think of calling us and they go, yeah, I do have a new shower, or I do have, a new truck, so they can protect both. So I'm going to call those people to get this protected.
Yeah, and in some of these cases, like people have actually started a new LLC because of that. You don't want to be like, I'm the master. I'm the what do they call it? The
master of all.
No, master.
You don't want to be chucking a truck.
Jack of all trades, master of none.
Jack of all trades, master of none. You want to be able to say, okay, this is the surface protection company. This is the wheel and tire company.
Yes.
Split those out and get experts involved. You can be an owner of multiple things, right?
You can own a bunch of them.
So with our company, with our parent company is called Zenware, we own 4 different applications. So we own DetailBookie and RoadFS. We own a farming application, and we own a medical application. We also do software for the Department of Interior for a flight app. We keep those separate. That's why we have these businesses here. RoadFS and DetailBookie are focused on the detailing and automotive reconditioning industry.
And even those serve different markets.
Yeah.
Right. And so
that's what you can do because you have to focus on that. We don't have the same people working on every one of these. They work on separate pieces. And sometimes that's hard, but sometimes it's the best thing you can do because now you've allowed yourself to have growth in different areas. But you have people that can focus on that and are experts on that area.
So I have a question for both of you. Matt, looking back over the 10 years, what are some key things that you've learned as a business owner? And Justin, what have you learned going from being an independent solo guy and coming on to work with Matt and building out a bigger operation?
So over the years as a business owner, I think the biggest thing is, one, I'll say this, and I preach this to these guys, you have to go with the model that your customer is always right. Even when you want to slam them against the door and tell them that, hey, this isn't going to work. But you also, I think you have to be thorough. You have to be able to explain what you're doing, how you're doing it, and you have to hold those promises you make, and you have to hold yourself and your team accountable. And I feel like that has got me to where I am today, is just knowing that if I continue to put out a good product, it doesn't matter how much I spend on marketing or this, that word of mouth from those customers, knowing that, hey, if I call Matt, it's going to be taken care of and they're going to take care of me, is what really took me to that next level. And just those relationship building over the years. As far as like a business side of growth, I started in the business side of growth when I was a lot younger. I had parents who owned the audio shop, so I was always around a small business owner, and just seeing the way you can grow. And, you know, we went from selling $1,000 stereo upgrades to doing $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 just for 2 speakers in a house. And by doing that, yeah, the money's nice, but if you don't hold your promises and take care of what you've been doing for years and years, and doing it correctly and not taking those shortcuts, eventually your business is going to end, because you're going to piss off too many people that you're not going to get those referrals. My referrals here at VIP is what makes us the most money. You know, when we finish a vehicle and they send us 4 more customers, I can't duplicate that in the marketing side. I can't force somebody to click on my ad. I can't force them to go to DetailBookie and get a price. But when that customer that has that referral from their mom or their best friend, they're going to come in and they're going to go, hey, I don't care what you're charging me. I want what they have. But you have to do that for every customer. You can't just go, okay, we're slow today, so we're going to spend more time on Joe Blow's car, but this other car is not going to matter. So I think holding your word and doing what you say you're going to do is the biggest thing I've learned over the years that can either bite you or make you very, very successful.
Yeah,
Yep.
I love that.
That's yes. And I bet you owned a lowrider when you were younger with a big thumpy stereo.
Actually, I owned a GMC Canyon.
I was going to say, he's
There
a
you
GMC dude. No way.
I owned a GMC Canyon, and at one point I think I had 410s, and then at one point I did have one of like 2 pairs of speakers in there that were only created in the world, given to me by Robert Zeff from Zapco for my graduation.
And
that's awesome. That's cool.
Yeah, so I had it all. So
that's awesome.
I think more or less for me is, well, early retirement is what I was looking for, but you know that's probably not going to be no retirement in this business anytime soon. But more longevity. I think I cut myself short a long time coming over here and learning how he does pricing and all that. I think I cut myself short a lot when I was working. I know what I am and the work I put out. And so now over here, I see how I should be doing it better and pushing more on, you know, the quality of work that we got and for making the money with it too, you know?
Yeah, no, for sure.
That's good.
And one of the things is, see what Mike has to say here. That was me. Too many of them. Best way for Continental, the JL speakers.
That's funny. A wall, baby.
So one of the things that you talked about earlier, it really kind of struck me, because we all go through that transition of seeing somebody else do it and going, damn, I screwed up. But that's that maturity. That's that learning process where you've humbled yourself and said, I don't know all the answers. And now you're reaching out. And there's Kirk Evans from the organization Detailers, the Roundtable. He has this saying, and you were talking about the different quality of, you can't do Joe Blow's car better than Susie Sally's because you're slow. He calls it Burger King. He's like, some customers like McDonald's and some like Burger King. You have to figure out what your output is. And when your customers like those services, you're Burger King. Everything that goes out is the same. It doesn't matter. We go to a shop here locally and somebody will come in for just a basic wash, just like quick and dirty, man, blow it in, blow it out. But when he QCs that car, he will always go in and make sure that the shifter boot is taken care of, regardless if they do an interior. He makes sure that certain things are done because it's the same quality every single time, and it's an expectation. And you'll have a customer that'll come back. You know, new employee comes in, they don't know that you take the mats out and blow them out no matter what the service is. Customer will come back and go, hey, my mats aren't blown out this time, right? I mean, we've all done it. I've taken new cars to a dealership and ask them not to wash it because they know me. And so I'll come back and it'll be washed off and I'll be like, hey, you just scratched the car because you washed it. And they'll be like, what? Obviously you got a new guy in the back because they don't know that I don't want you to wash my car. So that is the thing, is expectations is everything we want. That's why we buy Apple products, because we know what to expect. It's why we go to Burger King. It's why we go to Taco Bell. It's all the same. And that's why I think that's a really important, is to say, as you get a new employee, this is the output that we put out, right? Tayton Trout, really good at that, young business owner, but in his shop, there's a certain level of quality that goes out the door. So
that's good.
Yeah.
Well,
awesome,
gentlemen,
guys.
we want to thank you for taking your time to give us a conversation. Dude, I've loved the conversation. It's, I think a lot of business owners, they're just trying to figure out what to do, right? And that's the real driver of our podcast over the years. We're like, you know what? If we have a podcast about software and CRMs, people are going to go to sleep.
Well, we have 2 episodes and it'd be over.
So right? We're like, so we're like, all right, how do we have a conversation with our customers about what they're doing, and leaders in the industry, and every conversation, I learn something new. I get a different perspective, and I appreciate you guys. It's been nice kind of having Justin. That's just, and let me put, I'm interpreting here. A struggling detailer that loved to do it, but loved the work, so he wasn't giving up, and he just would work, and sometimes cost him a lot of money because his integrity was so good that he would spend more time on a car than he should have. And Matt's going, wait a sec, slow down. We're actually here to make some money. Let's put in some business processes. Let's introduce you to a CRM. Let's introduce you to profit margins and stuff, and let's grow together. Yeah. And that dynamic, that's why we have these conversations, to expose people to, these kind of stories to help them grow their business. So thank you so much. It's been a great conversation. So
and thank you guys for having us.
Absolutely, anytime. So if you guys are in Louisiana area, you want to look up VIP Surface Concepts for any of that stuff. And if you're, I noticed there was a couple of people that wanted to connect with you. So Trout, connect with Matt Cubano. Are we pronouncing that correctly?
That is correct.
Yep, there you go. And then or Justin. And
Justin's easy to pronounce.
Yeah, well, Justin. So you look at that right now. You've got
actually it should be Justin. Right, because he's not.
That's right. I guarantee.
This detail.
Anyway, you guys connect, and that'll be good, because I think that's good to kind of look across the country and see what you guys are doing differently for that. What is that?
And that's why we're here. Is we want to connect with anybody that we can help, as well as that can help us and grow. And everybody always says that competition is bad. But I have some benefits and some friends around the area that do the same thing I do, and we feed off of each other, and that really helps us grow. When one of us can't do it, we send it to the other shop, and when you put your name behind that, it really helps.
Yeah, if you go look at my personal Facebook page, Rod Pusey, you'll see a post I did a couple of days ago that was from 2 years ago, where prior to buying DetailBookie and not even having that conversation, it's Jody and I, and we're doing an interview with Dustin, and we're talking about DetailBookie, one of our supposed competitors, and he put out a post that said, look, competition happens at the bottom, collaboration happens at the top. You're collaborating with people, because that's how we make the whole industry grow. We were having this conversation, this will be my last thing, and then I'll shut my big mouth, yesterday, where when we get a new competitor that comes in, when a new software hits the market, our revenue goes up, not down. It informs people, it allows them to, we should be looking at a CRM, and it goes up. I always end up making more money. We've grown every single year that we have been in business. For 16 years straight, we grow every single year. And that's all you can ask for as a business owner, is to continue on that path and grow. So thank you guys very much.
And that's how me and Jody met. I mean, I was with Dustin and DetailBookie and Mike, and brought into RoadFS and tried to do a switch, but I think we're making some changes, and we'll be here for the long haul.
Yep. Well, appreciate it, guys.
Well, and that's the fun thing. I mean, it's like we're having a lot of fun with DetailBookie and RoadFS. It's like it's allowing us to have conversations with you and other DetailBookie customers. Some people we've moved over to RoadFS. Others we've moved from RoadFS to DetailBookie. And like you and 2 other customers that we're building a new feature for that will be officially rolled out at Mobile Tech Expo, is we start talking to you and we're like, you know what, that's got to be in DetailBookie. And so it's just, it creates a lot of fun conversations and dynamic, and we're just having fun building it. So thank you so much, guys. We want to wish you, your family, happy Thanksgiving. All of you guys that are listening, thank you so much for tapping in every week. I mean, we've been doing this since 2019. November was actually our first show, starting with our podcast. And I found some old pictures. I found that one picture.
Yeah,
and
they're crazy.
Maybe I'll post it.
You
so.
should
Did Rod have hair back then?
No, I haven't had hair since I was 30 years old.
No,
so.
dude, he's not had hair
for
a long time.
So the thing about it is the old days of starting out humble. Jody should post this because we literally had.
I'll post it.
He had a computer. We had an iPhone.
I'll post it.
I saw this.
Clear packing tape is what we started with, and so people ask us all the time. They're like, "What do I need to do to have a podcast?"
Start where you are.
Just start doing something.
Start where you are.
I mean, it's how it is. It's just like being a detailer, man. When you first start, the first day, you don't have 15 different polishers and 10 different choices of pads. You're like,
Harbor Freight.
3 pads, 1 polisher, and 1 compound, and I'm going to make it look as damn good as I can. And that's what you do. So go out there and do your thing.
Learn something new every day.
Yes, sir.
Well, thank you guys.
very much,
You have a
guys.
great
We will
day.
see you next
You
time.
too. Bye, everybody.
See ya.
See ya.